Hello and welcome to Psychology Live. I'm Dr. Gail Majcher and with me is Mary DiPaolo, limited licensed psychologist. Last time we started our new series on divorce. Divorce is such a big topic and it impacts so many people. 1 out of 2 people end up going through a divorce. A lot of people from our generation have been divorced more than once, and it's a very, very painful experience for the person going through it, and also for the children, the families, and all of the other people who are involved with the couple, friends. It impacts everybody.
It's true.
So in the last show, we were talking a bit about all the pain that's involved with divorce. This time we want to get a little bit specific about some divorce cases that we have seen.
One theme that I've seen with older couples that are going through divorce, because divorce is not just limited to couples that have been married 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I'm seeing, and we've seen for a long time, individuals who've been married 30, 35, 40 years and are getting divorced. And the big question becomes why? How could they have been married for that long and suddenly it's a divorce?
They had children. It seems like once the empty nest hits, really hits, and adult kids are staying home longer now. They go to college, they come back. So empty nest is happening a little bit later. But once it does, kids are gone, the couple looks at each other and it's like, wait a minute, what do we have in common?
Right. Now, one thing that I've seen besides phenomenons like empty nest, or it could also be the slow but painful destruction of one or more of their children's lives because of the adult child's choices. They get married and go through a divorce. They have addiction issues. They're a loser, if you will, in their way, whatever that means. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the parents start sniping and arguing over how this kid of theirs turned out, and that can be a root of drama that they never before experienced until now. But the thing that I've seen, which has been very interesting, we were talking about that a little earlier, are these couples that have been married for a long time and now both are retired. And instead of remaining engaged in life with people socially, giving back in whatever capacity, volunteering, or getting a part-time job, something that keeps the person in, if you will, actively in life, the opposite happens. There is more isolation, more poor me kind of mental frames of mind, and before you know it, one or the other or both have devolved into different kind of people that aren't very pleasant to be around.
When it comes to people retiring, this is on a side note, it's extremely important to stay engaged in life. You have to have something else going on. So what Mary's talking about are those people who don't. They retire and they don't fill in the space. They just want to basically stay home and get old and not put forth energy to the relationship, to life, but just become old. I've seen that happen many, many times. And it'll be one or the other. It doesn't matter who it is. One of them wants to just settle in and not live life so much anymore. And the other one gets extremely frustrated and sometimes will just go off on their own then and start creating a life because they don't want to just settle in and not live. Hopefully, as long as we're healthy, until the day we die, we are living life fully. We are giving back. We should give back in life. We're engaged with people. Friendships are terribly important. And when you retire, you really need to have your friends who are like family. Most of us don't have large families anymore, but our friends become like our family. Like a pointing at Mary.
That's right, we're family.
And you keep those friendships going. You do fun things together. You probably get together more because, shoot, you're retired.
That's right.
If you have money, you go on trips. You don't have money, you have barbecues. Or you go to the beach. There's all kinds of things that you can do to stay engaged. But getting back to the divorce issue, I know I've seen couples come in at this point. A lot of times, once the retirement happens, people come in for therapy. And we deal with this issue, and either that person who doesn't want to live life wakes up or they don't. And many times if they don't, the other person doesn't want to stay with them. But then what do you do by your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and everyone else involved in your lives for the last 45, 50 years?
Right. And, it's silly to think in hindsight, like, we got divorced because she didn't want to do anything and I did. Are you kidding me? These are resolvable issues. The other complicating issue that I've seen as a theme is when one or the other gets sick. And now that spouse feels overwhelmed by their duties of taking care of or caregiving on a regular basis for that ill or otherwise disabled spouse. Well, that can be worked through too. I mean, who died and said you have to take care of that person 24/7? You can certainly be managing care if it's a situation where that partner now can do absolutely nothing. I remember a case when I was a young woman. We were all having lunch with the pastor's wife at a restaurant, and a woman had a stroke right in front of us, one of the parishioners.
Oh my gosh.
And she wasn't that old. She was like 70. Well, then that was the beginning of the end. She was wheelchair bound. She couldn't speak. It was a mess. And she died probably about 2 years later. Her husband, oh geez, oh Pete, it was bad. He was so resentful and bitter, saying to anybody who would listen to him, we were supposed to travel in our RV across the country. And then she goes and has this stroke. And
that's just terrible.
Oh, and this is, Christian church people. So it's like, really, dude? But
and of course she couldn't divorce him.
Right. And how could and he had enough guilt in him where he knew he wasn't going to divorce her, but he sure blew about it for basically the next 2 years until she did pass. And that to me is just a terrible tragedy. Like, there are other ways to deal with a husband or wife that has had a catastrophic medical event and its aftermath instead of whatever you thought up that now you're going to do in coping with it.
I was just talking to one of my neighbors, and his wife has a lot of terrible illnesses right now, and they're not that old. She's around my age, so she's not that old.
No, we're young.
And he is a wonderful caretaker to her. And I said, are you still getting out golfing? Are you getting out with friends? He goes, I am. And making sure I do those kind of things so that I can come back and be fully engaged in taking care of her. And I said, that is such a beautiful thing to do. However, I've known this couple for, at least 20 years now, and they've always had a loving, committed relationship. So you can see why when this happened, it eased on into being that loving, caring, supportive spouse. But getting back to divorce, when there isn't something terrible that happens, but yet that retirement happens and one person just doesn't want to do anything, get into marriage counseling, see if that can be turned around a bit. Sometimes there can be some kind of happy compromise. Maybe one is more active, so they can be involved with friends more, but still the couple can do things together.
We have a couple minutes. Why don't we hit on yours that you wanted to bring up with the young couples that get divorced?
Yeah, the other end of the spectrum that we see a lot are young couples who get together a lot with other young couples, like you do. Hopefully, you always do that with friends, but especially with young couples, excuse me, allergy season here in Michigan, they hang around a lot, and before you know it, the female from one couple and the male from another couple are involved in having an affair. That happens so often, and sometimes they actually end up divorcing and then getting married, which is a whole nother set of problems that we'll bring up in the next show. But let me just say, if you're at that end, the beginning stages of a relationship, and you're with these couples and you have a temptation towards one of your friend's spouses, step back. Step back. That is not good for anyone. It does not work. Work on your marriage. If your marriage can't be worked out and you have to get a divorce, you still don't want to jump into a relationship. You have to take a lot of time to heal. But that temptation with hanging around a lot, going on trips a lot, it's a wonderful thing to have friends like that, but it's also, you have to exercise caution. You feel that, okay, well, wind back, go into therapy yourself, go into therapy with your spouse, whatever you can do to break away and stop the flirtation. Right. You know, there's being friendly with the opposite sex, then there's flirting with the opposite sex. And you can, even if the person's being flirty with you, you can always walk away. You can always go to the restroom. You can always do something to shut it down.
Right, because think about it. Someone who would be, engaging in that kind of behavior towards you is actually showing you and your marriage great disrespect in the moment.
That's
and
right.
are presuming that you're ripe for the picking. So you have to look at it from all angles, also understanding flirtations and a potential affair represents a powerful distraction away from your real life right now problems that need to be addressed.
That's right. It's going off into la la land.
It's going
so
off
you don't
into
have
la-la.
to deal with real life, which is the underlying cause of all addictions, of course. It's like escaping the present. And in reality, we have to deal with the present.
We sure do. So until next time.
And I think we'll do one more show on divorce. So.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.